Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube live powered by Jana King. Lots to discuss tonight. Uh, I, there's this guy named John Mateer that I think Oklahoma is trying to get out of the portal right now.
You may have heard of him.
Y'all may have heard of him. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Oklahoma's wide receivers. I have a interesting, I don't know for sure, but I have an interesting thing I think in my head that might happen here. And it's just my opinion. It's me kind of guesstimating here a little bit, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about offensive line. We'll talk about 2026 new Oklahoma commit on the O-line surprise commit today, by the way. And we're going to take your super chats. We're going to answer all you guys' questions right here on this OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live powered by Jana. But first, let's pay some bills, Parker.
Yes, Jana King, folks, is the proud sponsor of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast, OU Insider Live, and they're a proud partner of OU Athletics as well. They're the greatest team to ever clean, and they can deliver spotless results from stadiums to any size business across the country. Go check them out at janiking.com for unbeatable commercial cleaning services. That is JANIKING.com. And Brandon, tell us about your prize picks parlay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull that back up. I actually pulled it down. I went ahead and
Fumbled the handoff.
I did. I fumbled the handoff horrible, and that's on me. It is what it is. I went ahead. One of my picks today was it was point 0.5 rushing touchdowns for Justin Jefferson, rushing
Rushing?
and receiving
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
touchdowns combined, point 0.5. I took more, and I think that's an easy pick. I also took, I'm going to miss on this one. I also took more on Caleb Williams having, I believe it was 200.5 yards passing. I will probably miss on that, but you know what? It is what it is. I've been on a heater there for a bit. This is going to be probably my first L I've taken in a while. There's my picks.
Prize Picks, folks, is a favorite of Brandon's and should be one of your favorites as well because it's the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. And you can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks, which now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Join now because this holiday, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Download the app today and use code INSIDER to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, code INSIDER gets you $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Speaking of running your game,
You want to know,
Brandon.
you want to know how you know that Mateer is a big get? You want to know just a really solid, and obviously he hasn't signed with Oklahoma yet. Whoever put that out there, that is not true. There is no signature that has happened on any contract or anything yet. Visit is taking place over the next 48 hours. But um, you want to know how you can tell it's a big get?
How's that?
Texas, there is a horde of Texas fans on here just talking noise. They were just silent, not even over here, quiet as a church mouse for the last, probably because they felt so bad for Oklahoma. And now that Oklahoma likely has the potential chance to get, wow, my light just went out, the potential chance to get a solid quarterback uh in the makings again. That tends to, I guess, make opposing fan bases a little bit nervous, right? Particularly when you team that up with Oklahoma's defense under Brent Venables.
Yeah. I mean, John Mateer, the minute he entered the portal, for instance, our former colleagues at 24/7 Sports immediately ranked him the number one available transfer. Not the number one available quarterback, Brandon, the number one available transfer, period. And shoot, not just the number one available transfer, the number one transfer of the entire transfer cycle to date among all the players that have entered the portal in the last week. John Mateer is
Yep.
considered the best of the best. This would be a huge addition for Oklahoma. It's an addition that's been anticipated for weeks now. And as we discussed over on OUinsider.com this morning, the expectation was that his entry was going to come accompanied by a no contact tag. That was not the case. And so, of course, that news drops. Oh, there's no contact tag. We kind of look dumb at that point. But then come to find out, it was nothing more than a clerical issue, as you termed it, on the Washington State end, because they're the ones
Yeah.
that have to
The
file his paperwork, right?
Yeah, they Washington State filed it. So they turned it in, say it, and whatever. All of these people that I spoke with, even before and even after, I asked them. I said, "Hey, like," and they're the ones that had fed us all the information. You've been on OU Insider, like everything that we said was going to happen has like literally happened chronologically how we said it was going to happen, and there's a reason and a rhyme to that. Like we got a pretty good connection within the Mateer camp. Um, really good one actually, and like they literally looked over the phone and went and text somebody else within the camp and was like, "Hey, he was right. He was supposed to blah blah blah," and come back like, "Yeah, it is what it is." They're having Louisville's hit him up. Miami's been blowing him up. I believe Vanderbilt's been crazy on him. There's been a horde of other like. There's been some teams that you would even like. Some of them, the people that have reached out to said person that I've been talking to said, dude, we're like telling them, why are you reaching out? Like that's not happening. And so it's been crazy. You kind of feel sorry for the kid because the photo screwed everything for him anyways. Like he had a way he wanted to do it. Like the tweet that Parker had drafted up, just so you all know, we had drafted up last night. It was supposed to take place last night. It didn't. He slept on it a little bit more. When everything happened this morning, Mateer was asleep. He woke
And
up to
what you're referring to be clear, is the
yeah,
screenshot that surfaced of the message that he sent to teammates at Washington State.
correct. Yes. And like he was asleep. He had no idea any of that happened. And, it is what it is. They were a little upset, but not like overly upset. Like they knew it was going to be a circus because of who he is. So,
And that's exactly what it's been
yes.
ever since. But it's been far less of a circus than you would expect for the number one transfer on the market because everybody knows where he's going. He's going to the University of Oklahoma. He's going to be the Sooners quarterback. But well, potentially at this point, they may take two quarterbacks in this transfer cycle because not only do they have to replace Jackson Arnold, they've got to replace Brendan Zurbrugg as well, who hit the transfer portal several days ago. But Mateer is the quarterback OU's
No.
been waiting on, angling for, and it looks as though that's going to come to fruition. There's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't. Again, his entry was supposed to have a no contact tag. The fact that it wasn't, clerical error. There's nothing suspicious afoot.
No.
John Mateer is going to be on campus with Oklahoma very, very soon, and things will be formalized and finalized very, very soon. Glenn Warshaw gets us started with the super chats tonight and says, I enjoy the show. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate your viewership.
By the way, thank you
Assuming
for the $2 NIL. I
Lee
wish I was
Bird,
worth more.
Lee's a
Yeah.
regular.
Yeah. I wish I was worth more to you, but I'll take it. Appreciate you, Lee.
Glenn said, I enjoy the show. Assuming OU gets John Mateer, which additional QB might OU take from the transfer portal? General Booty, you want to come on back?
Oh my gosh. What? Oh my God. I was talking like, so just so everybody knows, General Booty, Sean Mateer, Jackson Arnold, all trained with the same dude. They're all underneath the same guy. Um, so yeah, my son's underneath all that. Like they're just all a really tight circle of quarterbacks. It's really cool to see how friendly they are to each other. So this and if you all want to know some truth to this, like Jackson Arnold didn't say one negative thing to Mateer about OU. Like this, like that's how this has gone. It's gone really, really well for Oklahoma from here. But um He asked which additional quarterbacks they would take. I mean, Booty coming back, that the person I talked to today said that would be a smart move by him because he would be able to hop on that NIL gravy train again.
Yeah, no
That
joke.
yeah, that he missed out on obviously being a ULM, right? Like that just wasn't a good move. I don't he wanted to
Well,
play.
he
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 wanted to
he wanted to
play. That's what
play,
it
and it made
was. Yeah.
sense. It made
Yeah.
sense. He wanted to play, got the chance to open the season as Louisiana Monroe's starter, but obviously
I
is
I have a
back in the
name by the
borderline.
way. I
That
what about Robertson, Sawyer Robertson from the 2025 quarterback.
Sawyer
Uh
Anderson,
Sawyer Anderson, excuse me, Sawyer Anderson of
he just committed to
Episcopal.
Arizona today.
Did he just finally commit to Arizona again? Well, I
Yes.
mean, I think he would if Oklahoma wanted him. I'm here to tell you, I know for a fact he would have gone that route and would probably still go that route. There's also a I can't remember the guy's last name. He was at Houston Christian. He's like a COVID quarterback, been around for a long time. He's really really close with Mateer, I'm told.
Well, he'd
Just
he'd probably know Ben Arbuckle too.
and he
He
would,
comes
yes,
from
he
Houston
would.
Christian.
That's exactly what I was told. And he was injured. He started for most of the year, got injured at the end of the year, got in the portal, has been thinking about hanging it up. But if like Oklahoma said, just come and be our fourth string quarterback, I was told that he would do that in a heartbeat and he would do it for free, essentially. So
Okay.
like I there's that too. So just there's a lot of interesting. I just don't know that Oklahoma's going to take another quarterback at this juncture. Like I'm not sure they're going to go that route. You would think they would, but I'm not sure. I just
Ryan
don't know.
Meyer made his fifth lifetime contribution to the channel. It is a
Appreciate you, Ryan.
$5 contribution. Thank you, Ryan. He says, any chance we get a visit from Horton from Miami? And do you guys think the portal has been slow because we're waiting on guys from some playoff teams? Really, and this is kind of, again, one of those things that feels obvious, but is maybe difficult to accept. At least as far as the offensive skill positions are concerned, there are a lot of guys that have just been waiting on Oklahoma to lock in their quarterback. And now that it seems apparent more so than ever that John Mateer is going to be in Oklahoma sooner, you'd expect that Oklahoma starts adding wide receivers and tight ends
Yeah.
pretty quickly here. A name that has just recently popped onto the radar at tight end, and a guy that I was told is on campus tonight, is Nebraska transfer Nate Borkacher, who's going to be a sixth-year senior next year, a native of Aurora, Nebraska. It was funny. I reached out to some connections on the Nebraska side because obviously I have a lot of them up there, and they said, yeah, that kid's really good. Criminally underutilized at Nebraska. Good blocker, good hands, can run routes, can catch passes,
Hmm.
and they did not give him nearly enough run. So that's part of the reason he's in the transfer portal after 5 seasons at Nebraska, and he may very well choose to play out his last year at Oklahoma. We'll see what happens there. But obviously, wide receiver is a position where Oklahoma needs to add a lot of bodies. You bring up Isaiah Horton. Don't anticipate Oklahoma being heavily in the mix there. Uh,
Way too expensive.
and it seems that he got in with some idea of where he
Yeah.
was headed, and that appears to be Alabama. Let me give you the four names that I feel most confident with right now. And Brandon, you tell me if I'm wrong. And I was having this conversation with a couple of sources just about a half hour um, before we went on air here. And suffice to say, my opinion is shared by a couple of folks within the Switzer Center.
Hmm.
The four wide receivers that I think Oklahoma lands right now are as follows: Isaiah Satania from Arkansas,
Hmm.
Jaron Bradley from Boston College
Yep.
and Texas Tech,
Hmm.
connection with Evan Jones there. Giovanni Gibson from Arkansas Pine Bluff, who visited
Mm,
today.
maybe, yeah. Maybe.
And
They
then one that's just recently come onto the radar. I believe Brandon was the first to report OU's interest in Keontez
yes.
Lewis
Yep.
from Southern Illinois.
Yeah. So here's what I was told. And I do think Gibson is going to I don't want to put this. I think they're going to take him. I do. But Rara Thomas entering the portal interests me and intrigued me. That's what I was kind of leading into. Here's why. OU was really, really close with him. What was it last year? Year before last, right?
It was 2 cycles ago, I do believe.
When he went to
And
Georgia, correct?
wasn't there a pretty ugly arrest
I thought it
between
was
then and
like a
now?
DUI, right?
I don't think it was a DUI. I think it
Was
was
it
something
not?
else. Uh,
I
let,
don't remember what it was. I just was sitting here thinking
Here you
if you're
go. Yeah, let me read you what he was charged with.
uh
I don't think this guy's going to be a fit at
yeah,
Oklahoma.
I wouldn't if it's
Uh,
really bad, like DUI.
Cruelty to children, family violence, and
Yeah, that
two
ain't
misdemeanor
happening.
counts of
Yeah.
battery family
Yep.
violence.
Yep. That's not
Probably
happening.
not.
Nope. Why do I assumed it was DUI just like every other person at Georgia. So that's on me. But I just don't ever I just kind of pushed it out. I didn't even remember the name forever. Like I just saw it pop up and I was like, that's interesting because I had talked to a source earlier today and they're like, we're gonna see where we go. Like there's three for sure. The fourth, each kind of on edge. And I was like, oh man. But yeah, if that's the case, that guy should probably be in jail. And like, unless I don't know if he was guilty or not, but yeah, he's probably in jail, bro. Like, how is he even allowed? How is he even allowed to still be trying to play college football?
I mean, you can be in the transfer. I could go enter the transfer portal right now.
I
It doesn't
get
mean
that, but
anybody's going to
how,
call me.
come on, man. Like, just walk off into the sunset. Like,
I
go
don't think.
away. Like, I
Well,
didn't know that. I thought it was a DUI. Like every other, I know they had a receiver that had a DUI, so I thought that's the receiver that had a DUI. Apparently not. So
okay.
yeah,
Back to super
that dude's
chats here.
trash. Trash.
Uh, Ryan Meyer added another $2 and asked, "What are our chances with the offensive tackle from Wazoo?" Talked to a source in the building about this just a few minutes ago and was told, "If you want to donate some money, we'd sure love to have him." So, needless to say, that guy's going to be a little bit out of Oklahoma's
Who
price
is
range
this?
because that is Fa'alili Fa'amoe,
Oh
the
yeah, he's gonna be way
fine
too
offensive
expensive. Yeah.
tackle from Washington State.
Yeah.
That is a guy that came into the 2024 season with a day two NFL draft grade. Probably not get.
So here's the thing: is like one of the top offensive tackles was on campus this weekend,
That is
and Derek
correct. Derek
Simmons. He's the
Simmons
number 12 overall player in the whole portal.
and number 18, I believe.
Oh, he was number 12
Oniano was
earlier.
12.
Well, unless they changed it. Yeah.
Oniano was 12. Simmons is 18. But it sounds like Oklahoma's in a good spot with Derek Simmons. Now, things can change on a dime in the portal, and no decision has been made. Oklahoma hasn't
Yep.
been informed of a decision by Derek Simmons, but they're in a good spot there. He's a kid that, and I call him a kid, he's going to be a 6 year senior. He's had a pretty wild journey from Tusculum in Tennessee, which is a D2 school, to Abilene Christian, to Western Carolina, and now potentially to Oklahoma. So he's clawed his way up the hard way. Props to him for that. Uh, I'm going to give this name a shot. Barathram Lakshmivarahan donated $5. Hopefully, I came close.
So
And
you
said,
earned the $5 trying to pronounce that name.
after losing Claire, Koziel, and McGarry, what exactly is the plan at tight end? Is Brian LePack to OU a real thing to revitalize that tight end room? Look,
Hmm.
I, with regard to that whole conversation, what I would encourage everybody is do not run Joe John Finley off before he's packed his bags because he hasn't. He's going to call the plays in the bowl game. He's still helping prep this team. He's still coaching. He's still employed at the University of Oklahoma. Now, the more and more people I talk to about that whole deal, I I don't get the sense he's going to be at Oklahoma in 2025, if I'm being completely frank. The vibes there have been weird. And we have long since reported that he's in the mix for the offensive coordinator job at Purdue. That would probably at this point be the most likely opportunity for which he would depart if he did depart. Uh, Needless to say, based on what I've heard, I'm not terribly optimistic that Joe John Finley is back on the OU staff in 2025. We'll see. But obviously, Brian LePack's name has been floated. I mean, I think we were the first to report Brian LePack as a name to know for
Yep.
Ben Arbuckle's future staff. at the University of Oklahoma all the way back in mid-November. And so he's an alum. He spent 3 years at Oklahoma as a GA in the late 2010s. He's got familiarity. He's done great work climbing the ladder, very well respected at Kansas State. And so if Joe John Finley were to leave, I would consider Lepak the clear-cut favorite to replace Finley. That's the most likely direction OU would go, in my opinion. But another guy to be mindful of is Ben Arbuckle's former tight ends coach at Washington State, Nick Whitworth. That's another name worth knowing. As far as where Oklahoma goes at the position in the portal, talked about Nate Borkature. Outside of that, I don't really know, Brandon, because no Koziol, no McGarry, no Max Clare. Doesn't look like Jamari Johnson is coming. There aren't a lot of great options out there.
There aren't. I mean, look, uh, at the end of the day, I think Oklahoma's banking on. They have several athletic tight ends, right? Devon Mitchell, Caden Helms, right? Cade McIntyre. You're banking on them to be good players. The bad part's going to be is like, what if one or two of those three end up in the portal after the bowl season? Because I think that's something everybody's fixated right now on what's happening in the portal, right? During the bowl season and all that. Um, I got to tell you, I'm more interested to see what happens during that 5 day, 7 day grace period they have after the bowl season ends, because I think you're going to see some crazy ass names pop in the portal after that, like wild names that just wanted to finish the season off. And I'm telling you right now, there has probably been some tampering done. Like, uh, I kind of think, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know, that all this, don't know how much money Oklahoma has here, don't know how much money Oklahoma has there, whatever. Um, Maybe some of it's already tied up in guys that are going to get in the portal the second go around. You know what I mean?
Rewind.
Like
What kind of names did you say you expect to pop in the portal? What was the descriptor you used?
something I can't remember what I say. I can't remember. What was it? Crazy ass? Was that what I said?
There you go. I need it on a graphic.
Or
I need
wild
it on a
ass
graphic
names? Yeah.
ASAP.
But I mean, every year that's what happens, right? Bowl season, Caleb Williams, right? Like a
Yes.
lot of that stuff takes place directly after the bowl season.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't really care about anything else right now because the most seismic news of the night is that Barathram Lakshmivarahan said
Yeah,
I
you said
nailed
it
the
right.
pronunciation of his
Yeah,
name. How
you
about
nailed it.
that?
There you go. That's something Parker prides himself in, is pronunciation of the hardest names ever. I
I
keep
was
getting sent this
mispronouncing
stupid.
I
Go ahead.
was mispronouncing the last name of Oklahoma's new assistant quarterbacks coach. I found out today it's John Kucheski.
Kucheski. Oh,
John
that sounds,
Kucheski.
yeah. So
So there's a whole syllable in there that I guess is silent, but John Kucheski.
so he has to be checked then, if that's the case.
Yeah. This kind
Awesome.
of rolls into a couple previous super chats. Jacob Matthews threw us $10. Thanks, Jacob, and asked any news on if we're looking at Isaiah Horton from Miami. He kind of already knows where he's going. And then
Mhm.
good news about the tight ends room. There's not much of it to be found unless Nate Borkature moves the needle for you, the Nebraska transfer. Mongo gave us $10. Thanks, Mongo. And said, just woke up. What did I miss? Shout out to Steve Stutzman. Gonna miss you, Papa Top.
Yeah, that is a legend of all legends when it comes to fathers of superstars right there. It's wild. Like Brian Bosworth's dad was a legend back in the 80s in his own little right. And the closest thing Oklahoma's had to Brian Bosworth is Danny Stussman, and his father is a legend in his own right as well. So pretty cool. Do you keep getting the text message of the link of Jaron Canick's little troll to OU fans?
And it's a very clever
And
troll because it went over so many
everybody's
people's
falling
heads.
for it, by the way.
Everybody bid on it. He did it so matter of factly too. Virgil Walker gave us $20. Thanks so much, Virgil. Merry
Appreciate you,
Christmas
Virgil.
to you. He said, "Keep on keeping on, gentlemen. Blessings to you both. Merry Christmas and
Merry
Boomer
Christmas.
sooner." Uh, Virgil, we very much appreciate your support, sir.
Yep.
Keep doing the Lord's work, quite literally.
Yeah.
Ryan Meyer gave us another $2 and simply said, "Thanks, guys," acknowledging our answers to his previous questions. Thank you, Ryan. Kyle
Appreciate you.
Hightower made his very first contribution to the channel ever. Welcome to the party, Kyle. He threw us $5 and said, "Do you think any wide receivers that entered the portal will return to OU if they get John Mateer?" At this point, it's when they get John Mateer, first off.
Probably
Do
not.
I don't get that sense either. I
Those
think the guys
bridges
that
are burned.
yeah, I think the guys that left OU for their own reasons, and they're not going to be talked back into returning to
No.
Oklahoma,
No.
which is particularly unfortunate in the case of a guy like Nick Anderson who comes
Yep.
from an OU family. But
Yeah, his brother's on staff, right? So
that is what it is. Oklahoma's going to overhaul the wide receiver room, and they're going to need to. Let's move on here. What else do we got from the super chat? We have another $2 from Jacob Matthews. Can we get Ivan Carione to put on 40 pounds and play tight end?
that's actually in this system, that would be fantastic if he does it. And you want to know what? It's very viable for him to do it. And he may be able to do it very organically and maybe not even on purpose, to be honest with you. And on top of that, your H-back might already be on campus too, because Ben Arbuckle loves using the H-back. May already be on campus, and he may be one of your better runners too with the football, and Xavier Robinson, who we know can organically weigh 240 pounds and do it very easily.
Yes,
And he
and
carries it
not lose a
well.
step.
Yep.
But I like the idea of Ivan Carione playing tight end.
Love it.
I'm frankly surprised that there wasn't more of an effort to move things in that direction prior to his freshman season. But he has ended up getting some decent run at wide receiver. He's played quite a few snaps. He's got a tight end body, you know. He's got a frame that you can very obviously pack some weight on. I would not be opposed to having that guy pay rent at Tucker's Onion Burgers for a few months and getting up to 240, even 250, and seeing what you can get out of him at that
Hell,
size, because I think he becomes a tremendous weapon as a
just
tight end,
having
more so than as a wide receiver, in my opinion.
I agree. And just have him go kick one of those halftime field goals for the Chick-fil-A, and have one Oklahoma pay for his 1 year at Chick-fil-A to put on some weight, man. That's pretty easy. Just Ivan carry on.
Oh,
1 year free.
I'm surprised we're halfway through the stream and this is
Yeah.
the very first time
Yeah.
that this is getting brought up. Ryan Meyer tossed us another $5 and said, one more quick one. Any smoke about Zach Alley going to West Virginia?
Smoke,
Well,
yeah, no fire. Not yet.
a lot of smoke. Um, and look, there should be, if Zach Alley's agent is smart, which I would assume he is, because if you're Zach Alley's agent, you're milking this thing for all it's worth. For all it's worth. I mean, as we've discussed at OU Insider, Brandon, and you reported it last night, Zach Alley's been offered that job
Yeah.
at West Virginia. If he wants to leave Oklahoma, he can, because West Virginia is willing to hire him as their defensive coordinator, and they're willing to pay him a boatload of money for his services. Um, both sides kind of have their appeal, right?
Mhm.
Oklahoma has a lot more defensive talent coming back in 2025 than West Virginia will. You're playing SEC ball as opposed to Big 12 ball, and you're calling a defense for your mentor in Brent Venables. At West Virginia, okay, it's not a situation where everybody's coaching for their jobs in 2025. Maybe there's a bit more stability.
Yep.
If Zach Alley is really all that bothered by the presence of two letters and a hyphen, he would be defensive coordinator at West Virginia as opposed to co-defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, even though he is the Sooners' defensive play caller. And there is that familiarity with Rich Rodriguez as well. He was
Mhm.
his defensive coordinator for 2 seasons at Jacksonville State. So there's appeal on both sides, and that's exactly why I say, look, if Zach Alley's agent is worth the cut of Alley's salary that he gets, he is milking this thing for all it's worth, because at minimum, you are getting a hefty raise out of Oklahoma. You were getting a hefty raise out of that administration for your client.
Yeah, you've got to play this right. And he's probably going to have some other things that I would venture to guess is going to be in his hip pocket that he's going to pull out as far as wants and needs for him to stay at Oklahoma. And if you're Brent Venables, you pander to those wants and needs very, very easily. If you're the Board of Regents, you do the same. If you're Joe C, you do the same. This is not, I don't even think this is up for discussion, right? Like you have to keep like, where are they going to go if Zach Alley walks away? Like I assume they would ask Brandon Hall to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but does he want that job? Like a lot of people don't want that job at Oklahoma. Like, and I don't know if Bates does. I don't know if Falai does. Like those would be the guys that have kind of that the co-title and or have called plays that are on the defensive staff right now. So there's a lot of very interesting. I mean, maybe you have to go to Clemson and offer a boatload to, Wesley Goodwin, right? Like that would be the only other option you probably have that's viable, right? That knows because BV is so apt on cohesiveness that knows the defense inside and out.
Yeet in the super chat. Yeet has made his first contribution. It is a $5 contribution. We appreciate you, Yeet. Yeet says regarding NIL.
You like saying that name way too much.
Regarding NIL, I heard we have roughly 20 mil to spend. If so, why can't we afford some of these top guys? How much do we have left? Would you like to address that question
I
from
knew
Yeet?
you were going to do that to me. All right. It's probably on the higher end of that, maybe over by a million or so. But at the end of the day, here's the deal. You have to keep the guys that are already on your roster. Oklahoma didn't have a cheap. They were one of the most expensive rosters in 2024. The problem was is a lot of their money was sitting their butt over there on the sideline injured. Like there was a good portion of their NIL sitting right over on the sideline injured all season. And so they have an expensive roster as it is. And now you're adding a millionaire quarterback or multimillionaire quarterback, depending on who you want to listen to this equation. You're having to try and keep Jaden Jackson, who's expensive, Eli Bowen, Peyton Bowen, Michael Boganowski, um, uh, Danny Okoye, who they think has the world at his oyster as far as a defensive end. R. Mason Thomas, you have to try and keep. You have to keep all the linebackers, whether it's Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie, like all those guys. Gentry Williams is going to be healthy. You got to try to keep him because he's one of the better cornerbacks in the SEC when he's healthy. Like, then you have to get a whole new horde of receivers. You've got to go get offensive line guys and not just cheap offensive line guys, tackles, tackles to be able to, and guys that can play inside out, like really, really not specialized guys that can do both. Those are going to be expensive guys. So everything Oklahoma has to do this cycle is expensive. So when you're having to get to the wide receiver spot and the tight end spot after doing everything that I just said, getting Deion Burks to come back, right? Like that's not cheap. It wasn't cheap to get him to come to Oklahoma. I almost ended on that pause. Um, so,
Good thing
yeah,
you didn't.
just yeah, I'm glad I didn't either. So, yeah, that's why it's expensive, man. You got to how many guys making $500,000? How many guys are making close to 1 million? That's a big chunk, and then you still have to pay everybody else somehow, some way. So there's your problem. There's your problem. And everybody's running into those problems, by the way. That's why you see a lot of these big names hitting the portal, like Jaden Bakwe. Like, come on, man. Like, he's hitting the portal because he's expensive as hell.
Yes, he
That's
is.
why.
Uh, Mr. Do I look like I give an F has contributed $5 to the
Love
channel.
it.
He says, would like to have the Beers brothers in the tight end room. Doesn't their sister play basketball here? Yes, Reagan Beers does play basketball at Oklahoma. I I can't keep things straight between Rocky and Rowdy. I don't know which is which. One of them committed to Colorado State. I don't think the other one is committed anywhere else yet. Um, Neither of those guys are probably takes, at least not on scholarship at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And with the roster cut down to 105, they're not the type of dudes either that you're saying, okay, just walk on here and we can let your name take care of your financial needs while you're here because it will. I mean, it will. Their names are Rocky Beers and Rowdy Beers. Wherever they go, they're going to make money. Um, Keandre Bogus with his third contribution to the channel. Thank you, Keandre. He says, any word on the defensive tackle David Blay? And is there any chance we go after Brownlow Dindy? Answer to that question is no. Regarding David Blay, Brandon, what are you hearing there?
So they've been waiting, and I have to recheck with his brother, but they were waiting on um Oklahoma to get back to him as far as the transcripts go. If the transcript lines up and he's not losing a lot of credits and all that type of stuff, they are going to visit Oklahoma. Um so yeah, I that's that's where that stands. They would love to visit Oklahoma. They have Oklahoma high on the list. They've built a pretty good rapport with Todd Bates, but it was more of an administrative deal as far as what they were waiting on right now. And I'll look and I'll update it on OU Insider VIP. I'll call his brother tomorrow and see what I can find out.
Uh, we're 45 minutes in. We've yet to address the fact that Oklahoma got a commitment today.
Yeah,
It was kind of out of the blue,
very.
but Oklahoma picks up a pledge from a native of Cleveland, Ohio, three-star 2026 offensive lineman Will Conroy. To hear him explain his decision from his perspective was super interesting because he basically said, look, I realized I needed to commit early because with the way college football is these days, and with the roster trim happening, these schools only able to roster 105 players and a lot of kids' spots beginning to come at the expense of transfer portal acquisitions in some cases. I needed to make sure that the place I was most comfortable with, well, I guess I should say I needed to make sure that the place or that I had a spot at the place I was most comfortable with. And for Will Conroy, that was Oklahoma. He'd visited twice, most recently for the Tennessee game in September. Had a lot of big time offers. Right? Florida was in his final five. Miami was in his final five. I believe Michigan as well, and then Arizona State, if I recall correctly, were the other finalists for his commitment. But he liked Oklahoma the best, decided why wait? It's not going to be worth it to drag this thing out if I already know where I want to go and I run the risk of my spot getting taken away if things break just so. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in. And he did. Loves Bill Beatonbow. Made that very, very clear. I got a lot of the same quotes today in talking to Will Conroy and, of course, Luke Baklenko, who is another guy that we've yet to bring up on this stream. Two
Yeah.
offensive line commits, one via the portal, one via the recruiting trail today for the Sooners. But Will Conroy loves him some Bill Beatonbow, and that is the primary reason why he is headed to the University of Oklahoma. Third commit in the 2026 class alongside Jaden O'Neal and Ryder Mix. Good foundational piece for the offensive line class at Oklahoma, Brandon. An interior guy that just plays nasty, as you want an interior guy to do.
No, yeah, he's a load too, by the way. Large human being. He made he made everybody Beanboat everybody look quite small in that photo. His dad's not a small guy either, but yeah, he's just a mauler. I think if you look at his film, everything that was struck me is that he reminds me of what I envision a Big Ten offensive lineman to look like, right? And he fits that Midwestern just grit
Mm-hmm.
when he plays. So I think that's a great fit for Beatonbow because that's how he coaches. So a lot of those guys that have that type of mentality always end up making it and at least get drafted somehow. So you just never know. I think he's got a chance to be pretty good, man. I really do. Somewhat underrated, almost.
By the way, OOSS 2004 said talking to a source is so douchey. So no more talking to a source, Brandon.
Okay. Sorry.
Do not speak with sources anymore.
Nope.
Too douchey.
Talking to sources is douchey. Who says
Um,
that? Oh,
that was OUSS 2004.
uh,
As we get back to super chats here,
that name was douchey. Ah. I kid. I kid.
Yeet is back. Yeet has given us another $2. Yeet says, "Do y'all think Zach Alley is the future head coach at Oklahoma or elsewhere?" I think he's a future head coach,
Yeah,
certainly.
definitely.
Um, at Oklahoma, I don't know because,
No.
well, I guess I wouldn't count on it, at least in any sort of immediate sense. I mean, it's very realistic that he could be a guy similar to Brent Venables that OU is in position to hire 20 years from now.
Mm.
But I don't really see a way in the immediate future where Zach Alley becomes Oklahoma's head coach because either what happens is like he's obviously very good at his job. Obviously, very good at his job. He's going to be getting head coaching interviews very soon, I would think. If not this off season, and probably not this off season because the coaching carousel is so boring this time around. But if he's not
It
getting those
is.
interviews next year, it won't be too much longer. The only way Zach Alley is in position to be Oklahoma's head coach in the immediate future, Brandon, is if Brent Venables were to be fired, obviously. And if Brent Venables were to be fired, you would not imagine that they are promoting his defensive coordinator
No.
because that's not how programs operate. If they fire a coach, they're cleaning house. They're not promoting from within. If you're promoting from within, it's because the current head coach is stepping down. And if the current head coach were to step down, if Brent Venables were to step down for any reason, I don't think Zach Alley is A1 on the totem pole in terms of guys that he would tab as his successor. You would more realistically look at somebody like a Brandon Hall, for instance, or somebody like a Todd Bates.
You know, somebody last night that's really, really connected to all this stuff told me. I
What's
don't,
that?
and you may have told me the same thing too recently, but I don't, it may not be, I can't remember, but I remembered last night getting a phone call and person saying, you know who might get tabbed as the head coach if like they had to push push BV out in the middle of the season? Just from a perspective of keeping everything as is roster wise, not trying to lose anybody. And it sounds crazy. Like I think it's crazy. I'm even saying it because I thought it was crazy when it was said to me, but it kind of makes sense a little bit. Would be obviously Ben Arbuckle because he wouldn't have the stench of BV's, right? He just got hired on.
Yeah.
He's new to everything. Plus, you'd be able to keep the offensive staff and the defensive staff. He'd basically keep everything as is, kind of like Lincoln Riley did, and just kind of go on about their way with just a different head man, right? Sometimes a different voice from the top changes everything. You don't need to change everybody underneath them. It's just the top, right? So that was kind of their point, is to kind of keep everything, you know, status quo, if you will. Interesting thought. I thought. I mean, I if Brent Venables lost was let go, who do you think their first call is? I know. I know. We're probably going to both say the same thing.
Shane Beamer,
Oh, okay. He was number two for me.
who's number one.
I still say Josh Heupel. I still think you got to at least kick the tires down there and see if it'll work. I mean, I know somebody that's really, really close to him, and he and OU are perfectly fine. It's I was told there's a couple of people around him that's more upset with everything than he is, and if
Mm.
they can, and ironically, most of those people still live in Oklahoma, so you could probably make it work.
Brady
Honestly,
Mason with his third lifetime contribution to the channel. It is $10. Thank you for
appreciate
the
you.
$10, Brady Mason. He says, stress-free question, who plays an NFL snap first? JFA or DJU? LOL. Thanks for powering through the portal, gents. The OU community appreciates you. Well, we appreciate you.
Yep,
Who plays a snap in the NFL first? Jackson Arnold.
Jackson Arnold.
DJU's never getting there.
Jackson Arnold's. going to be a dude at Auburn. I hope y'all are prepared for it.
On that
He's
note, Based God 333 threw us $5 and said, I said this on KREF earlier, but man, I've been having nightmares. All I can think about is Jackson Arnold to Cam Coleman on September 20th. He's coming for us.
yeah, he's got two NFL wide receivers just waiting on him when he got to Auburn. He's going to have a quarterback coach. I want people to understand that talent didn't go away. Confidence may have went away, but the talent didn't go away. The second Hugh Freeze gets that confidence rolling again, got problems. And you just better hope that it doesn't kick in on September 20th when he comes to Norman. But that's going to be a fun game. That's going to be one of the more valued games that weekend, I'm sure.
Lee Bird threw us $5. Lee's a regular. Thanks, Lee. He said, I'd like to retain Coach Brian Clinton also. That will be happening.
Yes.
He said, you claimed my super chat on KREF the other day, Parker, so I assume you are retained also. Yes. Well, in the words of Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm not leaving. We have the third contribution of the night from
Ring the
Yeet.
bell for it.
Yeet says, is it true Oregon has unlimited money from Nike? If so, will this change next year? If it does, what does it look like? Salary cap for each team.
Ooh.
That
You
gets
can
a
answer. I'll do the salary cap thing. You can go ahead and do the Oregon thing.
well, we're anticipating, and by the way, Jason threw us $5. No question, just a contribution. Thanks,
Appreciate you,
Jason.
Jason.
Oh, he also said Heupel would be stepping down in NIL to come back if he were to come from Tennessee to Oklahoma. That may be true. But I think we're all
There's a
preparing.
cap.
Well, and looping back to Yeat's question, we're anticipating that rev sharing is going to be implemented next July 1st.
Yep. And on top of that, there's going to be what I was told. Was talking to somebody and they like walked me through like every year how it goes up for like an extended period of time, and I believe it's like a decade, right? Like, so you start in 2024, and I believe it's like across college football, I think it was like 18 and a half, $19 million, something to that extent. And that's as much as the whole athletic department can get. Now, there's other ways around it where they're probably going to give like, and I was told maybe 13, 14, $15 million, and everybody will have the same for their football program. Like they'll have it set where this is only how much you can spend as far as NIL. Now the profit sharing is where it gets you. Now programs like Tennessee, Oklahoma, Alabama, all that. To me, if I understand this correctly, those are the guys that are going to be able to still get, the lion's share of the good players because they're going to be making the lion's share of the money as far as revenue, right? I think whatever. But I was also told that relationships are going to come more into play because everybody's kind of on an even playing field now, and it's going to go back to the way where that person isn't going to be making $4 million here or $10 million over here. It's going to be the most you're probably going to make is probably $750,000 if you're elite, maybe a million and a half. You're a big time quarterback, but everybody else is probably going to be kind of across the board. It's the outside entities, right, Parker? The businesses, all
Yes.
of that
Uh,
that is where they're going to get you. That's where it's
by the
going to get
way, quick aside, would you ever have imagined that Josh Eaton would wind up at Michigan State
you.
for his
No,
final year of eligibility? Would you
no,
ever have imagined that Josh Eaton would wind up back in the Power Four after his time at Oklahoma was over? I mean, good for him.
no.
I saw that. I was very surprised. Um,
No, he wasn't very good.
no, looked like a distance runner at OU. But
Yes.
spent a couple years at Texas State, and now he's right back in the Power Four at MSU. So props to him.
Coaching.
By the way, and we have a super chat worth $20 from Ryan Meyer that we have to get to, but I received a text from someone that is a regular listener and viewer to all the things that we do. This person is
Yep.
relatively plugged in themselves, and they said, you should do a math is hard session. Because we've discussed Oklahoma having a total NIL spending budget of $20 to $22 million, right? And this person said you should do a math is hard session. 105 roster spots, $20 million. That's $190K for everyone.
Yeah.
Now start taking $1 million away for several people,
Yep.
$500,000 for others.
Yep.
750 for others.
Yep. I wrote this exact thing on
That
the
money
inside,
gets real
by the
tight
way.
real quick.
Yep.
Real tight real quick. You can only have so many high dollar guys on your roster. And that number is less than you think when you really sit down and kind of write it out in terms of where it all is going. But back to Ryan's super chat. He gave us $20 and said, I was wondering, you guys think that with next year in the rev sharing, any chance that it's the beginning of contract negotiations because surely money from the university will have to be contractually agreed upon more so than NIL?
Yes. Yes. And that's where I will not be surprised if there's a players union at some point when players come out of high school and they commit to whoever, OU, whatever, Texas, whatever. You will sign into whoever's running the players union across the board and say, hey, this is you're agreeing upon the structure of, and it has a lot to do with right collective bargaining, antitrust. You're agreeing upon the cap and how much you can make inside this NIL space, right? And then you're also agreeing upon you can only make so much in profit sharing with the university. What they can't cap you on is what you make, just like in the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. Nobody can tell you how much you can make from Nike or whatever. That's your money to go make from outside entities. Now that's where it's going to get really interesting. Is where the donors like Nike, like Phil Knight. Remember how they wouldn't let you be signed with programs or signed with a company that happened to like Jordan. Like you couldn't be signed with Jordan Brand if you were playing for Oklahoma because Jordan Brand sponsors Oklahoma. They're probably gonna have to do away with that rule. And Oregon is going to rake because of that, by the way.
Somebody somebody in the chat said, anyone notice that Parker looks like poker pro Tom Dwan? I've never heard that one. I've heard many. I've been told I look like Charlie Puth. I've heard Sean Mendez. I've heard a young Rob Lowe. I've heard Sam Bradford. I've never heard Tom Dwan.
Who's
So
the who's the Michael whatever guy? The guy that does like he's like really smart in the politics. I see him, Michael Knowles. Is that his name? I don't know. Like that pops up all
I
the time on YouTube.
I'm not sure. Your YouTube feed must be different than mine.
No, no, no,
You
no. Like, yeah, it is because I always like to watch all the crazy stuff of
hmm.
kids.
Baker Mayfield alt gave us $2 and asked, when will we land a wide receiver in the portal? It's gonna be soon. Gonna be soon. Give it 48 hours, there should be a wide receiver on board. You agree with
Yeah,
that,
Michael
Brandon?
Knowles. Yeah. Be a wide. Yes, I do agree. I think by Friday at the latest, you'll see some movement, but I really feel like it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday that you see something kind of snap in there. Don't hold me to it, but I think I feel pretty confident in it.
As do I. I'm even a little bit more optimistic. I think it's coming quicker. I would say by the time we go to bed Wednesday, there will be a wide receiver on board for Oklahoma. Cole Birdwell threw us $2 and said, LePack, that is all.
Okay. We understand what you're saying, but okay,
Yes.
that's yeah, yeah,
Yes, and also a reminder, subscribe to the channel while you're here. I
yeah.
think something like 48% of our weekly viewers are not subscribed. Um, Yeet said, don't worry, Parker. I think you're a cutie. Thank you, Yeet.
You didn't want to
Uh,
finish the last part of
no, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
it.
So as to avoid any potential cancellations, we're replacing that phrase with no diddy in the vernacular. So we can say that. Yeet.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
fair enough.
Dan Q says super chatting to see if I ever have before. Looks like you have, Dan, because it is not marked as your first ever super chat. But as I was
We do
saying, subscribe to
appreciate
the
it.
channel if you haven't already. Uh, doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't put you on a mailing list
Nope.
or something
We're
like
close
that.
to 20K,
Just
man.
just helps
Help
us
us.
out. Yeah,
Yep.
we are getting close. About to cross the threshold of 19,000 on the way to 20. So we appreciate your
Yep.
subscription. And We also appreciate your subscription at ouinsider.com. That is going to
God,
cost you a little something. It'll
yeah.
be a few bucks a month. Nothing that should be out of budget for you. But trust me when I say we make it worth your while to be over there. It is eight
Y'all been doing
dollars.
a great job too.
Yeah,
Appreciate you guys.
it is.
Awesome
It is
job.
$8 and change over there. You get to be a part of a vibrant community of Sooner fans. Get the best intel, constant intel these days. Here's the third lifetime super chat from Smarf Magoosh. $10 from Smarf, who says, "How does the O lineman from Stanford stack up to what we thought we were getting last year in Spencer Brown? I hope he comes in and does well, but it would be hard to be worse than Spencer Brown."
I, y-
Amen to that.
Somebody equated him to Walter Rouse, and they weren't being saying that because he's from Stanford. They were being literal. And this person's kind of a scout. They said, "Look, he's." Their exact quote was, "He's no worse than Walter Rouse." And if that's really the case, that really is the case. OU fans ought to be happy. Now, do I think that's the case? I don't know, Parker. Do you? Like, I don't know how I feel about Beklenko just yet. I just don't. I think he's going to be
Yeah.
a really good player, but he's young, right? He's going to be a junior next year.
Yeah, he's got
So,
2 years of eligibility left. And to me, he's one of those guys where, okay, he's got experience, he's got potential, he's got upside. He's far from a finished product. You're going to see what I guess you're going to see Bill Bedenbaugh's developmental chops on full display with a guy like Luke Beklenko because he doesn't have to turn Luke Beklenko into a serviceable player. He's going to
mhm.
be a serviceable player.
Yeah.
Can he turn Luke Beklenko into a good or even great player? That remains to be seen. Will Smith in the chat said Gabe says he's better than Spencer Brown in his In the Weeds. Well, there you go. Gabe and I are on the same page. I think Luke Beklenko, hot take, is better than Spencer Brown.
You're really not reaching that high, just so we're clear here. Spencer Brown, actually, at the end of the year, we have to give him props. He was okay.
Les Wilson gave us $5. Thanks, Les. What is the status of the Washington State cornerback? We still in the hunt? Yeah, OU's still in the hunt, but he's already taken 3 official visits. He's got more lined up. And what is it to this point? It's been OU, it's been Miami, it's been Georgia. So heavy hitters in the mix. Folks on the OU side have remained confident about Ethan O'Connor, but they didn't know anything when he left campus. They still don't know anything. Feels like the type of deal where he's going to give everybody their shot
Yeah.
and then sit down and make a decision. OU's felt very
Ah,
good from the jump about Ethan O'Connor.
yeah.
Um, I think it says something that they really haven't pursued any other portal cornerbacks really, really hard yet. That indicates a level of confidence with Ethan O'Connor. Does that
Or
guarantee anything?
stupidity.
By no means.
Or stupidity. One of the two.
Or
I'm
stupidity.
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Coach Villar. I kid. I kid. It's really no, I agree. Because I don't it's weird to say this, but like if you don't get him, like are you really like do you feel like he's make or break with Gentry Williams coming back, Eli Bowen with Day Day, Devon Jordan, right? Like
Yeah.
you feel like
Well,
you've got a really good
it's
room
not make
already.
or break by
Yeah.
any means. Like there are obviously positions of greater need for
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Um, it is going to be nice to have another capable body in that cornerback room and a guy you know you can count on because Gentry Williams has been injury prone to this
Yep.
point. He's had trouble staying on the field. And so if for whatever reason his availability is affected at any point next season, you want to be able to have a guy in Ethan O'Connor that's going to already be in that rotation because he will be. But that
Yeah.
you can plug in and that he can hold things down opposite Eli Bowen while Gentry's on the shelf. T Boomer says, "How many commits will we have by New Year's?" Boy, I can't even
Uh,
give you an answer. That's I would be
well,
completely.
hold on. I bet we can actually. Let's do this real quick because the portal's over by the 28th.
Yeah. So are we
So
saying
most of
oh
the
like
guys will be
15?
my point is most of the guys will be committed by that point is my point.
You'd think so. I'd
Um
hope so.
you would think so, yeah. So you need one more offensive lineman. You got a punter and you've got an offensive lineman committed, right? So you got two committed, right? You're going to get another offensive lineman. That's three. You got a quarterback essentially in the works, right? Four. You got three wide receivers. Maybe let's go the high end. Four wide receivers. That's eight. Um, Cornerback nine, linebacker 10, defensive tackle. Maybe I would say between 9 and 12 is what I would say you'll have committed by then. That doesn't seem
Everybody's
that, yeah.
everybody's in the chat commenting about how young I look. Yes, I look younger
Yes.
than my age. And it's going to be great 15 years from now. There will come a point at which I am the one taking the victory lap. But uh, elsewhere in the super chat, Cole Birdwell threw us $5 and said, "Is JJF only on staff because we need someone to call plays? I feel it doesn't matter who calls plays." No, he's on staff because Ben Arbuckle wanted to retain him. Now, might he leave of his own accord? Sure, but
Yeah.
Ben Arbuckle called Joe John Finley one of the best in the country. You may have your opinion, but that's what I'm just relaying what Ben Arbuckle said, just repeating what Ben Arbuckle said. He said Joe John Finley and Bill Bedenbaugh were two of the best in the country with which to establish the line of scrimmage. Yeet has made his fifth contribution of the evening and asked, "How confident are y'all in for Mateer 1 through 10?" Brandon, you want to answer this in unison?
I won't say 10 completely just because I don't want to. I give myself a little leeway, but I'll say 9.5.
Round up.
Parker says 10.
Just round up at that point. Just round up.
Yeah.
John and May Myrick gave us $10 or $20, excuse me, and said, "I'm just getting a joint, so you may have already discussed this. What happened with Eugene Brooks? We've not discussed that. BJ Brooks is the latest transfer portal addition for Oklahoma this morning. Uh, what happened there was this, and I discussed this on the radio. I don't think we have discussed it yet in this stream, but BJ Brooks was playing at 395 pounds at one point in high school. He put in a remarkable amount of work to trim his body, dropped 70, 75 pounds to get to a svelte 320 ish, and was just stonewalling dudes at the Under Armour All American game last January. I mean, all throughout the week, Brandon, BJ Brooks was quite clearly the most impressive offensive
Yeah,
lineman
he
there.
looked great. Yep.
And so, given all the work he had put into that point to reshape his body, you figured, okay, like this guy he's tailor made for success at Oklahoma under Bill Bedenbaugh, especially because the work ethic isn't something you really have to worry about. He's not going to get in his own way. Well,
Hmm.
kind of seems like that's exactly what happened, which, just not really something you can predict. But that's kind of the nature of the situation, and it became apparent that a parting of ways was best for both parties.
Yep.
And so BJ Brooks will be moving on. I would think he probably goes back home, closer to home in California. Or I guess he's originally from Las Vegas, but his time at OU is over. He did not appear in a game, to my recollection, in 2024, and spent all year on the scout team.
Yep.
Jack Wright, $5. It's his fifth contribution. Thanks, Jack. If Nike spends money on Oregon, then conferences should dump Nike.
That would be ridiculous because then you're dumping Jordan and then you're dumping like every Converse, like Nike owns Converse too. So you're dumping three of the largest shoe companies and brands and all of apparel and clothing. And now you're left with Adidas and Reebok.
$5 from Les Wilson. Any interest in Troy Bowles or Marvin Jones Jr., and how much? Troy Bowles, haven't heard really any rumblings of OU interest there. Marvin
Yeah.
Jones Jr. is a different story, Brandon.
Yeah, there's interest there. I know that at one point they were trying to set up a visit. It's gotten quiet on the defensive side of the ball, period. Like just period, the defensive side of the
Mm-hmm.
ball, because you just hear a lot of offense. Um,
Which admittedly is where the focus needs to be.
yeah, doesn't mean that they're not going to get anybody on that side of the ball. I think they will. I just think that like Parker today, like tight end was on campus, and you found out he was on campus when he was on campus. Javion Gibson or Giovanni Gibson, excuse me, uh, found out he was on campus or that he was visiting while he was on campus yesterday, like literally yesterday, like found that out while he was there. So like it's the portal has been really different as far as covering things because you don't have the extended relationship with a lot of these small school guys that we have with a lot of these high school recruits, and we build it over years and years and years. So it's been difficult to stay on top of it. Doesn't mean that they're not going to visit or that the visit isn't set up. We just haven't been able to confirm it. I've talked to Marvin Jones's mom, and I've talked to other people, and there's interest, but that's as far as it's gone so far, as far as I know.
All right, we are out of super chats and we're out of
Yep.
time. Brandon, would you care to inform people as to how they can ensure that they're part of the OU Insider squad before we wrap
Yeah.
up?
Look, you guys have done an amazing job, and we are so blessed to be able to do what we do, and it's because of you all. Everything that you all have done has helped us out extremely well. Like we can't thank you guys enough. I look at our sub numbers all the time, and what you guys have done has been phenomenal during the last few months. Even in the downtime, you guys are there supporting us, and we thank you, thank you, thank you. So, in that sense, if you're a active duty military, if you are a college student and you have a .edu, active duty military, and you have a military email, if you're a teacher and you've got a teacher's email, ouinsider@rivals.com, you email us from those emails with proof that you are that, like, obviously if you're from that email, we're going to respond to you. We're going to send you a promo code to get OU Insider for $11.95 for a whole year. For a whole year. $11.95 for a whole year. Remember, active duty military, email us from your military account. If you have a .edu, it has to be from a .edu. It doesn't matter what college you go to. Email us, ouinsider@rivals.com. We will email you back with the promo code for you to sign up to get OU Insider for $11.95. Same teacher. If you have a teacher's email account, your school account, whatever it is, email us. We will hook you up. ouinsider@rivals.com is the email, and we will respond to you. But it has to be the .edu, it has to be the active duty military email, and it has to be your teacher's email. On top of that, $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year. We're also doing gifts. If you had a family member that loves OU, you go to our website, there's a link for you to click. You can gift a membership to one of your family members, one of your diehards, all the way up to 5 years. Like you can do 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 month, 6 month. Doesn't matter. Or you could do a year. You could do 2, 3, 4, 5 years, all the way. That's how you could do it. Doesn't matter. You have a loved one that's a diehard OU fan? Go to OU Insider, check it out. If you're the diehard OU fan, OUinsider.com. You go, you sign up. $9.95 a month or $99.95 for the whole year. It's great. It's less than, I believe, what equals out to, I believe the 99.95 equals out to what, Parker? Like some eight and some change. Like it's basically a Starbucks coffee is what you're essentially paying for, even for a monthly membership. Starbucks coffee.
Dang, that's
Thank
a lot
you.
of whipped cream
Thank
on that
you.
Starbucks coffee.
Yep. But hey,
That latte, I suppose.
yeah, that latte. But hey, we'd love to see you on there. We've had so many people sign up. Like this has been one of the fastest growing few months that we've ever had. And this dates back to the coaching search, guys. So we thank you all, Sooner fans, for doing what you guys are doing. Big J homie, thank you for the $1.99. All right. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live. For Spencer Forsythe on the board, for Parker Thune.
Hey, before we log
Oh,
off,
oh,
happy birthday to Spencer Forsythe. He does fantastic work
yo, happy
and
birthday, buddy.
is the one that has made sure we can bring you this stream every single week for the last 3 years. It is his birthday today. His face never gets shown.
Nope.
His work is seldom acknowledged, save for the shout out that we give him at the end of each live stream. But we actually flew him in to produce our live stream, our signing day show a couple weeks ago, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
All of the fine and aesthetically appealing visual stuff that you see, that's all his brainchild. So shout out to him on his birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Spencer. Hey, really quick, Jeff Freeman with Bowman out. The bowl game, I hope to see more Boganowski. He's a grown man. Do you think he's first off the bench? Yes. I believe he will be first off the bench. You'll have Bowen and RSJ as your starting safeties, and Boganowski will be heavily in that rotation with Reggie Powers at the cheetah position, with Omostigo probably moving in to linebacker. That's how we're hearing how a lot of that's going to play out. All right. Thank you guys. $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year. Thank you, Spencer Forsythe. Happy birthday, my man, on the board. Parker Thune. My name is Brandon Drumm. You guys have a blessed night.